Hi guys, it's Kate here to Bead Just So. Today I'm going to show you how to do a really simple project. It's a necklace that has two different strands and they connect with a little connector here, and then it goes up to a piece of chain and a lobster claw in the back. This necklace features manufactured sea glass beads. They're daggers. They're beautiful. It also features a 4mm fire polish bead, which are check glass, in case you didn't know. And then a 6mm round Chinese crystal bead. And these have 96 facets. They're particularly sparkly. They're beautiful. It also features some Tierra Cast pieces, some little connectors. Whoops, where am I going? Little connectors, and I have matching daisy spacers too. There it goes. It's in focus now. So let's get started. I have mine pre-strung, so you don't have to watch me do that, but I'll go through all the parts and pieces again as we are putting it all together. So here we go. All right. I have a new tripod, so it's going to be a little wonky here on my first video. Okay, so like I said, I have mine all strung and ready to go. So what we're going to do is, when I'm going to have kits put together of this, and what you'll do is each kit will contain a string of the daggers, and in the bottom row of beads, my pattern is a fire polish bead, spacer, dagger, spacer, fire polish, and so on and so forth. The kit will include written instructions, and this will all be written down as well. So what we're going to do is take one end of our bottom layer here. Oh, and I should note that I took two matching pieces, two matching daggers out, because I'm going to make earrings out of those. So you can certainly leave them in if you don't want earrings and have this be a little bit longer, but I tend to take two out just for matching earrings. So that being said, what we're going to do is take a crimp, put the crimp bead on, and then we're going to attach it to one of these little Tierra Cast ends. And it does not matter which loop we're going to start with, but you put your crimp on, you go through one of these loops here, fold your wire over and go back through your crimp. So you've made a loop here. Now I'm going to take a single pair of flat nose pliers, and I'm going to grab that crimp. I'm going to scoot it up to where I'm comfortable with it being, and I'm going to squeeze straight down like that. All right, now these are crimp beads, not crimp tubes, so the crimp bead just needs to be flattened with a flat nose plier, and that's flattened. And then my rule of thumb is to trim this off. Some people like to thread it back through the beads, but I don't find that really does any good. I mean, honestly, if you have this crimped properly, you're never going to need that. And if it's not crimped properly, that much wire really isn't going to do you much good. So I'm going to use the flush side of my cutters. I'm going to hold on to my little extra piece of wire, and I'm going to trim it off right at the crimp. So just like that, so it's nice and flat. And then I'm going to take a crimp cover, and you don't have to use these, I just do. I think it makes it look a little more finished. I put my crimp cover in my Mighty Crimper so that it's open here at the end, and I'll show you with my hands what I'm going to do. So if this is my flattened crimp and this is my crimp cover, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the crimp into the crimp cover. I'm going to turn the crimp 90 degrees, and then I'm going to close my crimp cover. If you don't turn it 90 degrees, you're likely to catch the crimp, and half of it or part of it will be sticking out. So that's why I suggest you put the crimp in this way, turn it 90 degrees, and then close it. So I will show you that. It's kind of hard to see with my hands in the way, but I'll do my best to show you. So the crimp is in, the crimp is turned, and I'm just going to gently, gently, gently squeeze. And then I always like to rotate the crimp cover so that that opening is up against the curved side of the tool. And I just squeeze a couple more times, and it's finished, and it looks good. Oh, I got a little cockeyed, but we'll just give it one more squeeze and we're good to go. So that one is finished, looks great. Then what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll slide all those beads down to that finished end, and we're going to do the other side. So we're going to find our other little end piece, and we'll put on a crimp, We'll go through, again, it does not matter which side you go through here. We'll just go through one of those, fold our wire back over and go back through the crimp. And then you can pull this. Now, before I go ahead and crimp this, it's very important that this is not in a perfectly straight line. If you crimp these beads too tight in a straight line, they won't curve like this to sit on your neck properly. So what we're gonna do is I like to hold these two end pieces together in one hand and then pull it tight. And it can be a lot to hold, but practice makes perfect. And the hardest thing about beading, honestly, is figuring out how to hold things. So I've got it there, and I'm comfortable with that there's no extra wire showing. And I'm gonna take my flat nose pliers and I'm gonna grab that crimp and I'm gonna squeeze. But before I squeeze, I'm gonna make sure that both the loop on the loop that I'm making is the right size, but I also want there to be a little bit of room on the bead side of that crimp so that my crimp cover will fit. So I'm gonna scooch that and just squeeze straight down. If you don't leave enough room for your crimp cover, when you put it on, it will make your beads buckle, and there's nothing worse than having your beads buckle after you've done all this work. So again, I'm gonna take my tail, and I like to hold that and pull it taut, and then I just snip it right off the crimp, and it's good to go. Then I will cover that guy again. So we put our crimp cover in the Mighty Crimper tool so that it is open to the end. We put the crimp in and turn it 90 degrees and just gently, gently squeeze. Rotate the crimp cover in the tool. A couple more squeezes. And we're golden. Good to go. Just like that. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna do that top piece. So this one is shorter, and the measurements will all be written down in the instructions included with the kit, and I will make a note of them in the description of the video. But this one I did a fire polish bead, a spacer, 3 6mm crystals, a spacer, and fire polish, and I just repeated that around. And there's 7 sets of the 6mm crystals. So we're gonna do the same thing we did before. We're gonna put on a crimp, and we're gonna go through one of our loops here, the only empty loop here. Go through that, back through the crimp, and then squeeze straight down. All right, and then we'll trim it right off. Perfect. So then we'll put on our crimp cover. It's always best to put this crimp cover on now before you crimp the other side so that you know you've got enough room for both crimp covers when you put them on. And again, your beads won't buckle. So we go into the crimp, we turn 90 degrees, maybe, and we just gently, gently, gently squeeze. This one got okay. There we go. Looks good. So we drop the beads down to that finished end, take our bead stopper off, and then we'll do the other side. So we put on our crimp, we go through the loop, back through the crimp, and pull. Now again, this is where we're going to put the two the two ends together to make that loop, because we want to make sure the beads don't buckle. So it's a lot to hold, especially with this first string of daggers on there. But again, practice makes perfect. So we'll take our flat nose pliers. We're going to grab that crimp and gently slide it up where it needs to go, making sure to leave room on the other side, the bead side, so that the beads or the crimp cover can get on there. So it's where I want it, and I just can't get a grip on it. All right. There we go. Nope. This is an example of what can happen to a crimp. I don't know if you heard it click, but it kind of slipped in the plier and it's compromised now. So what I'm gonna do is pause, go get a fresh crimp, and then we'll start over. All right, so our compromised crimp is removed. So new crimp on, through the loop, back through the crimp, pull tight, hold the ends together. Okay. And, all right, squish, straight down, good to go. Trim that end off. All right, so close to done. It looks beautiful, so sparkly, right? Love it. Okay, so our last crimp cover, we put it into the Mighty Crimper. We put it on the crimp, turn it 90 degrees so it's in there, and we gently squeeze. All right, we are closing in on the end here. I told you this was a pretty simple project. All right, so there are the strands of beads. And now what we're gonna do is your kit will include this beautiful plated chain. I love this chain, it's so pretty. So what we're gonna do is we are going to jump ring the chain onto the ends. And what I like to do is hook the chain on and then cut it in the center here so that we know we've got the middle. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you haven't seen me in the shop do jump rings, I'll show you how to do them. So jump rings require 2 pairs of flat nose pliers. And you can see there's an opening right here. Hopefully that will focus. So there's an opening right at the top of this jump ring, and what I'm doing is I have 1 pair of pliers, let's see, horizontal, and then I'm going to take another pair of pliers and hold them vertically. And I've got as much of the jump ring in the tool as I can, and I'm just going to twist. I'm going to back up so you can see my wrist. I literally just twisted my wrist and opened it a little bit. So then what we'll do is we'll hook all the pieces we want to hook together in there. So I've got the end and the end of my chain like that. And then I'm just going to do the opposite of what I did to open it. I'm going to hold it and turn my wrist back the other way to close that ring. And you want to make sure that that ring is closed so it will actually stay. But it looks good to me. So there we go. Now we'll do the other side. So again, we're going to grab 1 horizontal and 1 vertical, and I'm going to twist my wrist, nothing else. Twist the wrist and then hook the end and the chain. And then I'm going to twist my wrist again to close it. All right. And sometimes jump rings don't want to close. And so pretend this is my jump ring and here's the opening. You never want to open a jump ring this way. Like you never want to hinge it like this, because where it's connected back here, when you do this, it's going to snap. It's going to degrade the metal and snap it. So what you want to do is then twist it like this, and that doesn't degrade the metal. But sometimes when you do that, if you're not careful, it will then when you close it not come quite back together all the way. So what you can do is twist it back open, and when you're twisting it together again, push just a little bit with the pliers on both sides, and that will bring the ends together. But it's really important, especially when you're working with really fine, delicate chain. This one isn't so delicate. But when you're working with really fine, delicate chain, you want to make sure that those jump rings are completely closed or they will pull apart on you. So, all right, so we have this all connected. And now you're thinking, well, how do we get it on? What we're going to do is lay it down and we are going to find the center of our chain. And in this case, it happens to be one of these big long links. So what we'll do is we'll take our snips and just cut that big link. And then we will jump ring our lobster claw. We'll jump ring this end, and then the first chain of our extender on there, and we'll be just about finished. So let me go ahead and do that. Again, one horizontal, one vertical, open up, attach the things you want to attach, close it up, and then we'll do the other side. Oops. Open, close, and that's all connected. Now I always like on the back of my necklace, I like to put a little bead at the end of the chain so that it weights it down and it actually stays. So I have a little head pin, and I'm going to use a tiny fire polish bead, and I just put it on there. Then I'm going to use my one-step looper tool, and I'm going to put the pin in. And if you don't have these, I have a video on how to use these. I adore this tool. It is such a lifesaver. And it makes a perfect loop every time. Let's see, can you see? There we go, that's better, you can see. So it makes a perfect loop every time. And then you just open that up. Hook it on the end of your extender chain, close it down, and away you go, just like that. A little less wobbly there. There you go. So that is finished. So I'll show you. I also made earrings. So the kit is going to include these stainless steel hoops for you to string your extra beads on, and there will be lots of extra beads. So you can certainly make the strands longer, shorter. You could make a bracelet out of the extra. It's really up to you. But I've got these cute little stainless steel hoops, and I'll show you how they work quick too. So they come with a 90-degree angle to hold the beads on. So what you can do is just take a pair of flat nose pliers. You're going to grab that piece sticking up, and I brace it on my finger, and you just bend it flat down. You're going to string your beads right on in whatever pattern you want. Let's see. I'm going to be short a bead because I used one of those fire polish beads for the end, but that's okay. All right. What you do then when you're done, and of course, yes, I'm missing that little bead there, but what you'll do is you'll take a pair of flat nose pliers, and you'll just bend it right back up so that it will hook back to itself, like so. All right, so I think that is everything. And like I said, a pretty simple project, right? Let's see. Again, my new tripod does not want to stay up for me. There we go. All right, so beautiful necklace. I absolutely adore this. And I love the little earrings. They're so cute. Perfect for summer. So I will get kits posted. Unfortunately, this is the only orange I have. I only had one strand of the daggers left. It's not a super popular color, so I figured that should be okay. But I'm gonna have some blues and a yellow and some more black, and there's lots of lovely colors. There will be links at the bottom to the kit. There will be links to the tools we used, and just to go over what we did use. We used a bead mat. We used 2 little bead stoppers. We used not one, but 2 pairs of flat nose pliers. We used some wire cutters. We used our mighty crimper to put our crimp covers on, and a one-step looper. And I believe that's everything. If you guys have any questions at all, please comment below. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you subscribe here. And most importantly, happy beading. Thanks, guys.